This is Mr. Vaughn with notes on Chapter 9. We're going to do a video lesson on all of the Chapter 9 topics, go through them pretty quickly. If you miss something, go back and rewind it and check it out again. So Chapter 9 starts geometry. It's focused on area. So we're going to go through some different shapes and what the formula for area is for each of those shapes. And so all you need to do is identify which shape it is, find the formula, and then plug in the information they give you. Some background information that you do need to know before you start on this is that perimeter is the distance around an object. Area is the space inside a 3D object, and volume, I made some little drawings there earlier. So perimeter is the distance around the object, so you just add up all the sides, no matter how many sides it has. Works for all straight lined objects. Area is the space inside a two-dimensional object, and volume is the space inside a three-dimensional object. So something like a box, how much space is inside of that. All these formulas use B for base and H for height. So on to the first shape. And if you need more references, lesson 1, page 661 is where I got this. Parallelogram, just like the name implies, means you're going to have some parallel lines. In fact, you're going to have two sets of parallel lines. Remember, parallel, like I just showed those other lines up there, is like the railroad tracks. Two lines that go on forever and never going to touch. So this is a parallelogram. The top two lines, the top and the bottom line are parallel, and the left and the right side are parallel. The formula for this is area equals base times the height. So there's the two parallel lines top and bottom. There's the parallel lines left and right. So let's try an example. 8 centimeters for the base and 4 centimeters for the height. So you take your formula, A equals base times height. You plug in 8 for the base, 4 for the height, multiply them, and you have 32. Now this is area, so all of the area is going to have squared, or to the second power. So the proper way to write this is the area equals 32 centimeters squared. Now, little trick here. If you take a parallelogram and cut off one side of it so that it's straight up and down on one side, like it looks like a rectangle on one side, you take that triangle and move it to the other side, you're going to end up with a complete rectangle. That's why the formula for the area of a parallelogram is the same as the area for a rectangle. It's base times height, because it basically is a rectangle that's just been rearranged. There's your rectangle, and 4 times 8 with the lines cut off. Alright, lesson 2, triangles. In case you forgot, a triangle has 3 sides. A right triangle is a specific kind of right triangle. It has 90 degrees, and this little square down here in the corner is the symbol that shows you that it's a 90-degree angle on it. It's the same formula. Area equals 1/2 of the base times the height. So here's an example for you. 6 inches for the base, 4 inches for the height. So we take our formula, area equals base times height. All these 1/2 base times height up here where it's typed out, they're all written together, just means multiplication. 1/2 times base times height. Plug it in, 1/2 6 is what B equals, 4 is what H equals, and then you multiply those together. 1/2 of 6 is 3, and then 3 times 4 equals 12, and then you write it in the proper format. Area equals 12 inches squared. Lesson 3. Oh, this is another little trick. If you have a right triangle and you double it, like I just did right here, see that? If you take the same size and flip it over to the other side, you'll end up with a rectangle. That's how this relates back to a rectangle. The area of a rectangle is the base times the height, and a triangle would be half of that rectangle. That's how they came up with that. A trapezoid has one set of parallel lines. So in this example right here, you can see the top and the bottom are parallel. The formula for this is 1/2 the height times the sum of the bottom and the top base. Okay. Top and bottom. So here's trapezoid. It has a height of 7, and the bottom base is 12, and the top base is 8. doesn't matter which one you use for the top and the bottom because you're just adding the bases together. So that's what you say, base 1 and base 2. So what do? You find the formula. I've identified this as a trapezoid. Find the formula and plug in the information you know. So 1/2 times 7, that's the height, parentheses, the first base is 12, second base is 8, and then you work that out. Their order of operations, do inside the parentheses first. 12 plus 8 equals 20, times 7. Oops, let's get that down a little bit more so you can see that. Now you could have multiplied 1/2 times 7, but then you'll end up with 3.5. 3.5 times 20 is kind of hard. But so because these are all multiplication, it doesn't matter what order you do them in. So we chose to do 7 times 20 and get 140, and it's pretty easy to find 1/2 of 140, and that's going to be, it went down even more, 70 meters squared. So that's the first part of lesson of chapter 8. I'm going to actually break this into 2 parts. So that's your first part.